Ready? The first question I want to ask you is, why a Fiddler on the Roof?
A lot of people have asked that question because it was a concept first primarily taken from Marc Chagall, who did a series of paintings about ghetto life in Eastern Europe. And one of the symbols he used was a fiddler standing with one leg on a roof, playing a fiddle. And Jerry Robbins and Joe Stein got the idea for the title to this play. And once they got the idea, Fiddler on the Roof, then they proceeded to write dialogue that fitted the title. Because the Fiddler on the Roof is basically the symbol of Jewish ghetto life, is the instability, the immediacy of the pogrom, the exile, the poverty, the shakiness of the way that the people of that day had to live. They had... Oh, great. Can you cut this out? All right. The shakiness of the way people had to live in those days, because they never were sure whether they're going to stay in town or get thrown out the next day or die. And all they really wanted to do was live gently and peacefully and play some nice music. That's all they wanted to do, is play a simple tune of life. They weren't allowed to do that. So the concept of the unstable kind of life that the Fiddler on the Roof shows you, or, presents, was very apt in their comparison, or the analogy, if you want to put the word. That's the meaning, to me. The meaning of the Fiddler on the Roof is the Jewish people of that time.
You once mentioned the diaspora to me in relation with this. How much does this come in to Fiddler?
Well, the Jews living in Eastern Europe were already in diaspora. They were already in exile from the homeland, which was Israel, Palestine, where they originally were conceived. So wherever they went, no matter where they are all over the world, they are still in exile, so to speak. The homeland is Israel, or Palestine, biblically speaking. And they moved every time they lived. They were always aliens in that land, no matter what it was. They were the aliens because they stuck to a certain religious code, a certain cultural code. They had customs, folk customs, that were different from other people. And they certainly were people of the book, as we say. Whether they had anything to eat or not, it was the book that sustained them, the Torah, the Bible.
How universal is Fiddler on the Roof?
Because of its specificness. Is there a word like that? Specificness or specificity?
Specificity.
Because of its specificity. Fiddler on the Roof becomes the most universal play I've ever seen or I've been involved in. Only because it talks about very deep human problems, like the breakdown of tradition, and that's in any culture. Any person who has a child or grandchildren, and always, as you know, the teenagers today, the mothers and fathers don't understand the teenagers, and it doesn't have to be Jewish, doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't have to be Mohammedan, any kind of religion or cult or group, have the common problem of their own traditions breaking down. In my day, for instance, when I was a youth, we were rebelling against our parents, and today the kids, the teenagers, are rebelling against theirs, and this goes on forever and ever. It's a very common, universal problem. And the play deals with the breaking down of tradition. The added thing about it was the thing that kept these people going were their traditions. And when they began to break down, that was truly tragic. And it even has more meaning for an audience now, because they see their kids, as they say, going away from them, separating. Their ideas are so much more advanced, so to speak, and so much more hip than their parents. And the fact is that this is the oldest story in the world. It's always been that way, and it probably always will be.
Well, you told me an instance of last week about two people who left the theater because they said it was a Jewish play. Now, is this an exception, or, for instance, when the film comes out, how popular do you think the film version of Fiddler on the Roof would be?
I would say barring outright anti-Semitism, which there is, existent in the world. But barring that, and I'm sure there are people who will not go see it specifically because of that. There are anti-Semites. You can't help that. There are people who do not like Jews, period. No matter what the Jew does, he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't. So there are people who will not go to see this film. But for the vast majority of people, and especially the younger generation today, one of the good things about the rebellion against the older generation is more liberal thought and much, much more enlightened thinking on Jews, Negroes, any minority group who has been kicked around for hundreds of years or thousands of years. So that I think it will be, I would say it would be similar to going to see a picture about, let's say, an Indian tribe, which people don't have any particular feeling one way or the other, and they see it and they see it's unique, and then they suddenly realize that this Indian tribe has the same problems that they have, only in a slightly different form, but it's the identical problem of love and tragedy and death and mostly the terrible thing of terrible tragedy of the breakdown of family life.
You, more than anyone else who has done the role of Tevye, is perhaps best suited to playing it. Can you tell us something about why your background perhaps is best suited?
Well, because it's not a boast. It's a statement of fact that I was born to it. I was born in the Yiddish theater. My father and mother were Yiddish actors. They traveled all over the world with Yiddish theater. And when the immigrants came to this country, they brought the works of Sholem Aleichem, upon which Fiddler is based, to America. And I was raised on these stories. The story of Tevye. Tevye was like the Tom Swift was my generation's idol. Tevye was my idol. Tevye was my everyman, the man that I would like to be like. That kind of thing.
Did your father play Tevye?
He's played Tevye, sure.
What are your recollections?
I never saw him play Tevye, but I know he's played it. But I've seen other people play it, and I certainly have read the stories, and they were read to me when I was a small child. And this went on and on. I grew up with the Sholem Aleichem stories, and finally I got around to doing them myself, and to the point where 10 years ago I did a play called The World of Sholem Aleichem on Broadway, and then I toured with it, and then I did a one-man show for a number of years, reciting the works of Sholem Aleichem and similar authors like that. And then it was just kind of a full circle. I came back to it, and now I'm playing Tevye, which is very gratifying.
What are the greatest difficulties in playing the part of Tevye for an actor, or yourself specifically?
Well, for an actor, there are no difficulties other than his own limitations. For me, there was a specific difficulty in the fact that I saw Zero Mostel do it. And the image of Zero playing Tevye, which is a totally different Tevye than I would ever conceive, but was so powerful because he was such a dominating personality and such a funny man, that the toughest thing for me to do was to stamp his image out of my mind, because the easiest thing would be to try to mimic him, and the most unsuccessful. The true thing, or the most successful thing, and the most honest thing to do would be to be myself and be Tevye at the same time, my understanding of Tevye. But it was hard to get there because I had to wade through the image of Zero doing all those lines, which I had to do, and all the, what we call shtiklach, that Zero created. And I had to really stamp them out, and it was quite a traumatic experience to forget about him. You can't forget something that moves you so deeply.
Having played the part for 9 months now, is there still exploration on your part?
Always. Every night. As a matter of fact, the most beautiful thing about this part, usually when an actor is in a play for a long period of time, he gets bored. It depends on the play, but he generally gets bored, and he has to find new little things that will excite him and move him. Fortunately for me, this play moves me every night. It's the kind of play, it's so well written and so well produced, and the content is so close to me that I don't have to find new elements that would make me excited. What I do is try to improve what I'm already doing, and that is an endless process. And you'll never stop that. Any actor worth his salt won't stop doing that, because then it can really get boring if you don't try.
You've set a new precedent, I think, as far as albums go. Usually an album comes out of the original cast, and that's it. But you've now put out an album, Herschel Bernardi sings Fiddler on the Roof. How did this come into being?
Well, simply because, and obviously due to some of my efforts, the play is as successful, if not more so, since I went into it. And the music publisher of the songs got a bright idea, and he called me one day. He says, "No, that's not how it happened. No, I was going to make an album, another kind of album." And we talked to this music publisher, and he said, "That's a great idea, but I got a better idea." And we said, "What was that?" And he told us, "What about you singing all the songs in Fiddler on the Roof?" I said, "I don't sing them. I just sing 4 or 5 songs in the show." He said, "No, all of them. The songs the girls sing, the songs the boys sing, the songs everybody sings." And I said, "How will I do this?" "Let's get together with the authors." And we got together with Sheldon Harnick and Joe Stein, and they rewrote the songs to fit the father, Tevye. And I sang all the songs, and it was a very exciting experience.
Your mother is pretty well the grande dame of the Yiddish theater. Has she seen the show?
Sure, she saw the show. And as a matter of fact, her comment when I asked her how she liked the show, she said, "We did it 30 times on 2nd Avenue," which is the which is the center of the Yiddish theater. It was a Broadway of the Yiddish theater, and they did tell you more than 30 times. That was her comment about how she liked it. Not that she had seen better productions of it, but she had seen many, many productions of it.
Fiddler on the Roof only comprises a few of the stories of Shalom Aleichem. Do you see future musicals coming out of the stories, and would you be interested in going further?
No. I'll tell you why. And this is strange, because I've been asked the same question before, and I've thought about it many times. The thing that Joe Stein did, I don't say that there won't be a play written that will be better than Fiddler on the Roof from the stories of Shalom Aleichem and other authors in Yiddish. But what Joe did was capture the essence of Shalom Aleichem, the laughter through tears, which is the essence of his works. There's an apocryphal story. There's another famous Yiddish writer called Peretz, and they say that when you go to see his plays, you take a lot of handkerchiefs with you because you're always crying. He just reduces you to tears. When you leave the show, you turn around, you look back at the theater, and you say, "What am I crying about? It's only a play." But when you go to see a Shalom Aleichem play, you laugh all the way through it. You're always laughing. And you walk out, and you suddenly turn back and say, "That's something to laugh about." And that's the essence of what Joe Stein captured. He captured this wonderful laughter through tears kind of effect that Shalom Aleichem has on people. And I don't see it can be captured any more deeply than it's been captured in the English. In Yiddish, it certainly can because of the language. But in English, I don't see how it can be done any better than it's been done. That's not to say that it won't be done. I don't know. But at this point, I'm not interested in doing another Shalom Aleichem piece. I should take that back because I just thought about a play that he wrote, a book, that was a beautiful thing about two actors called Wandering Stars. Verblonjete Stern, it was called. Wandering Stars, about two kids from the ghetto who run away from home and become actors and finally end up in America. And I've always been excited about that particular book, but that's, I don't know.